the fuck is going on here?
He's on the edge of this. Oh!
What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and there's one thing we're going to address before we start today's video, and that is you're not very popular with a fan base that supports this channel massively. You're not very popular at all. You called them, almost your exact words were, you are an incy-wincy little club. You're tiny. You're so much smaller than Everton. That's what you basically called Aston Villa yesterday. Now, I disagree. I think Everton and Villa are a similar sized club. I think as much as Villa fans can argue they won the European Cup, fair enough, they've also been relegated, I think, twice since we have. So there's pros and cons to both. Both very traditional, both fantastic clubs, both great fan bases. We're on hard times. They're on good times. 6 years ago, it was the opposite. Hopefully we don't go down, but we probably will. That's my take. John, you fucked everyone off. You answer. You tell Villa fans what you think. Before we get into this match preview, by the way, people.
Well, it doesn't help you stoking the fire, does it? For the start, we had this conversation today on the phone.
Stirring that pot.
Yes, I could have put it across differently. I've used the wrong choice of words. It was nothing about sizes of clubs, comparing one to the other. It may have come across like that, but I spoke to Michael on the phone about this today. We were having a conversation about the financial situation at Everton. And I didn't just mention Aston Villa in the same sentence. I mentioned another club. I can't remember who they were. And what I was aiming at, Brighton, right, okay. So what I was getting to, because we all know, I've said on the last few videos how well Brighton have run. So what I was actually getting to, Aston Villa fans, wasn't to do with who's the bigger club. It was more to do with many years, well, not many years ago, but a while back, you had the same problem with one of your owners, i.e. Randy Lerner. Since he's gone, Villa are a much better run club with the owners they've got in place now, with the top manager that they've got in place, and with a very, very good squad of players. So that's what I was getting to more than the sizes of the clubs. And I did end that by saying Everton need to be aiming where Villa are. The way they run, with a better squad of players and consistently in the Premier League. So I should have put it that way, and I didn't. So there you go. That's how it should have come out.
So basically, just to keep stoking that fire, if you meet John at Villa Park in the next 10 days, he's no relation to me. All right, if you see either of us at Villa Park, I'm not related to him. So don't, come and say hello to me. I'm a nice guy. If you meet John, I don't condone violence, but if it's necessary, I understand. Okay? Let's get into the Brentford preview, John. It's Everton against Brentford. 5:30 kickoff Saturday. A game that is going to be a challenging game for Everton Football Club for several reasons. Brentford are a very good team. They're playing good football at the minute. They're playing well. They've started the season quite good, even though Ivan Toney he's, I think he's out until January due to the ban or whatever. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brentford fans. John, we win this game 3-0, don't we?
No. Just wait for my score prediction. Listen, this is going to be not as tough as Arsenal, but still a very, very tough game, especially away from home. Michael mentions Ivan Toney then. What I like what Thomas Frank has done, he's sort of changed the way they've had to play because they haven't got him up front. So he's sort of, I wouldn't change the formation, but they probably have to play a bit different because he's not there. And that just proves to everyone how good of a manager he is. This is going to be another tough game on Saturday, a match that I don't really expect us to get anything from. Call me negative, but that's how I feel about the club at the minute. All I want to see is obviously a win, but also I want to see fight. I want to see us have a go at them more than what we did against Arsenal. Create chances. Play a different formation, Dyche, instead of the boring football we've been watching. And at least put a glove on them. Get in their faces. As Michael said, they're a good footballing team. They're playing well at the minute. get in their faces, don't let them play football. That's all we ask. That is half the job. It's got to be 100% better than what we watched against Arsenal. And if we see it, and if it's unfortunate we do get beat, at least we've seen a bit of fight. That's all we can. After that performance against Arsenal, first and foremost, we want to see a bit of fight and a bit of game plan and a bit of sweat on the shirt. That's all we want. If the result comes with it, all well and good. But it needs to be a million times better than the Arsenal performance.
Yeah, I think it's really worth noting as well. This is our 6th Premier League game, and currently Everton are sitting on 1 point. Now, I don't know in terms of records for our worst starts, and I don't know that. But it's probably drawing.
It possibly could be the worst start to a Premier League season for Everton. I think I read something. I don't know whether it's happened now or if we get beat Saturday, it happens then. But we're very close to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, we know how poor we are. We're going up against a side that can score goals, can defend, have got height, they've got all the attributes of a decent Premier League team. You know, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up Brentford's backside because I think they're a good side, but I don't think they're brilliant. I think they have got weaknesses. I think you can exploit the channels. I think you can play through the lines, certainly in between the left and the centre backs. I think you can do that. I think you can get in between the right back and the centre back on the other side. And I think those are areas that Everton, if they play to their strengths, can actually utilise. You know, we talked about cutting out midfield. One of the things that people will say is whoever wins the midfield battle will win the game. My actual argument would be whoever wins the Brentford defence battle, because if Everton play long football and they have Beto who wins flick-ons, or they have a Calvert-Lewin who might start and wins knock-ons, and they bring players like Danjuma and players into play, then that's great. But it's whether we play like that. If we play the 3 in midfield, I'm not saying we're going to get overrun in midfield, but we've seen already this season we're not great. We're not great when we play the ball through the lines, through midfield. We're not. So I would be reluctant to do this against Brentford. And in my opinion, I'd rather go to Brentford and play 4-4-2 and give it a go and lose than play 4-2-1-2 or 2-3-3, whatever we've been playing, and not really turn up or lay a glove on them. I want to have a go this week. You know, I don't want to watch a game where Everton look like they're getting beat from the moment they start, or they look like they're trying to play for a point. I want Everton to go there to win the game. And in my opinion, whether you agree, John, or disagree, I don't know. Whether Everton fans agree or disagree, it's an opinion-based channel. You know, John thinks Villa are the smallest team in the world. That's his opinion. I would play 4-4-2 this game. I absolutely would play 4-4-2. And another player that would walk into this midfield is James Garner. James Garner walks into this midfield. That means I'm not acting as defensively. I'm not looking at my midfield to be as defensive. I'm looking for some creativity, a bit of pace, a bit of balls in behind. And if we're in a game that finishes 3-2, 4-3, at least we know we can score goals. And that is what I want, in my opinion. I don't know the 2 in midfield. I just want James Garner to be one of them.
1,000,000% agree with you. Everything you've said there, I think we need to turn up. And because, as I said in the other videos, Michael, that we really only have one way of playing with the 3 in the middle under Sean Dyche. Surprise Brentford and turn up and play 4-4-2. Surprise them. You know, because you said before about we can get at their fullbacks. We can try and get him behind the lines and thread passes through. You know, and I know, if he sets up with the same formation and the same midfield 3, we don't make that defence split and pass. We don't get in behind the lines. It's so readable if we play that same formation with that same midfield. It's not going to happen, so don't hold your breath. In my opinion, I think the only way that happens is if we play without wingers and just go 4-4-2. You're spot on about James Garner. I've said many times, whether it be Decore, whether it be Onana, whether it be Idrissa Gana-Gueye, you're not going to get that defence split and pass off any of them 3 players. So one of them comes out, or two of them comes out, and put James Garner with the one that's left. James Garner has to go in the middle for me, with McNeil and Danjuma on the wings, or whoever it may be, with Beto, Calvert-Lewin up front, old-fashioned 4-4-2, shock Brentford by playing a 4-4-2, because not many teams do anymore, and go for it.
Would you... the question is that everyone will be saying, who's the one that goes alongside James Garner?
Well, I know one who doesn't, and you know who that is. You know who you think you think that is. Probably Decore playing with James Garner, Michael. You know me thoughts on Amadou Onana. Yeah. I think a lot of people are starting to pick up on me thoughts about Onana now. I'm not a lover of him. I'm not saying he's not going to be a talent in years, but I think at this minute in time, he doesn't suit Everton, and Everton don't suit him for the situation we're in. So it could be Garner Guy and James Garner. It could be Decore and James Garner. Regardless, doesn't matter to me. James Garner has to be there, Michael. Even if Gomez is fit, bring him in. Anyone, Dele Alli playing with injured. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but what I'm trying to get to...
Wheel him on!
Yeah. But what I'm trying to get to is someone who can make a pass. Just a bit of flair in the midfield, because you don't get it with them three. We need someone to get the ball out wide who can make more than 3 passes, because we've seen it against Arsenal, Michael. We couldn't string 3 passes together. So we need someone in there who can make that defence split and pass, put the ball in behind their fullback, so we've got our wingers running onto it. Anything, just a bit of flair, and just someone who can make that through ball, that killer ball. Because if you've got 2 up front, they haven't got to stand together, Michael. You know, even if you're putting a cross in, one can take the defender away. You put the ball through the middle. It gives you that option if you've got 2 up front, Michael. One centre forward can take obviously the defenders away, leaves the other one a bit freer. If you're only playing one up front, and we've seen it against Arsenal, how isolated was Beto. He's so isolated when we do that, because we've got no one in the midfield who will push up and help him. So for me, old-fashioned 4-4-2, and anyone with a bit of flair.
Yeah, the only thing I disagree with is Decore. I probably wouldn't play Decore, and the only reason I say that is Decore tends to play more forward. So if he plays more forward, he'll leave James Garner in a defensive position.
Yeah.
I want James Garner to...
whoever it is, do you know what I mean? But just a bit of flair.
You're in between a rock and a hard place with all of them. You know, Ladrissa Gana-Gay hasn't got the legs for 95 minutes, in my opinion, and Onana doesn't have the defensive stability to be able to have the composure to do the defensive job properly, because he doesn't really track his men very well.
No.
Again, like you said,
can't leave James Garner to do that neither if he doesn't.
Exactly. So it's a really difficult conundrum. And then the other way you could do it is you could play the same midfield. You could keep James Garner in. You could maybe keep Decore in, but drop Onana or Garner. But you'd have to ask Beto or Calvert-Lewin to play on one of the wings.
Yeah, and to come back and help maybe.
Yeah, and I don't think either of them couldn't do that. I think Beto cutting in off the left-hand side would be an option. But this is an interesting game because of Brentford. This is an interesting game because of Brentford. Everton defensively are a shambles. Talking about the defence is almost pointless because they will get chances.
I actually thought the defence looked a bit better against Arsenal. A bit better, but is this because Arsenal were in first gear? Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
No, I don't disagree with you, John. I think they did look a bit better. The frustrating thing is, it's not the defence that, albeit the Wolves game with the ball over the top and the header, was that Fulham? Either way, that was a defensive error. But it's the midfield that cost us because they don't track their men into the box. You know, the Arsenal goal, for example, was scored by a midfielder who had acres of space because a central midfielder hadn't picked up his run. The week before, one of the Sheffield United goals, none of the central midfielders followed their man into the box, and Cameron Archer scored from the McBurney knockdown. We see every week Everton midfielders do not track their men into the box. And that's a weakness. It's a basic weakness. And if I'm being honest, I actually have moaned about that with players like Garner since the channel started. I remember saying exactly the same thing about Garner Gay 6 years ago. So
isn't that unbelievable that you're saying that? I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way, but isn't it unbelievable that we have 3 defensive-minded midfielders in the middle, but yet none of them are tracking back to help the defence out?
I know.
But obviously that's down to whether they just can't be bothered and they're told to do it and they can't be bothered, or they're not getting told to do it by the manager. But isn't that unbelievable that you've got 3 midfielders like that in the centre of the park? None of them come back to help the defence out. That's unbelievable.
It's not even that. Is when that ball gets played through and it goes out wide, you expect a central midfielder to make a run and be at the end or around the 12-yard mark of the penalty box. You expect that because your strikers are occupying the 6-yard box, or so they're meant to be. So there's a gap. So if your midfielders don't fill it, this is where players have space. And we've seen it in every single game so far. Cameron Archer scored for Sheffield United by doing exactly the same thing, playing that ball into that space, no midfielder there, no one tracks his run. You did the same against Arsenal. The ball comes into the box. Midfield, the defenders have their men. They have their men.
Yeah.
They have their men. The ball comes into the box. There's no central midfielder picking up a midfielder. I mean, it's so poor. But this isn't a Sean Dyche problem. This is a problem that's gone on for bloody years with Everton. And I don't understand the basic philosophy of tracking your man. I don't get it. It doesn't happen.
But as you've just said, it's an easy problem, that, Michael, because it's schoolboy football. It's schoolboy, and that's no disrespect to schoolboys. Before I get shot down about that as well, but it is.
Don't take the mick of the under-13s job.
No, but it's common sense, isn't it? It's common sense football, and as you say, when was the last time we played common sense football? It's unbelievable with the money we spent, and we're not going to go on to that. But it's basic football, Michael. It's unbelievable.
So right, let's end it. Score prediction. Score prediction.
2-1 Brentford. Oh, sorry, Blues, but
I'm gonna go. 1-1. No, I'm not. I'm going 2-2.
I hope we can score 2 goals.
I'm going 2-2. I feel like it's going to be a Beto masterclass.
Are we on the telly on Saturday for the game?
We've got some big news, John. We've got some big news that's going to be at the start of this video, so everyone's already knows at this point. But you all will be pleased to know that Everton and Brentford will be watched along by me and John. Come over to the channel at about 20 past 5. I will definitely be there at 5:30. John might be 5-10 minutes late, but we will both be there to watch the game as Everton draw with Brentford. Make sure you're there. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Do not miss it because it's going to be entertaining with a capital E.
Tell all your blue friends as well about it and get them to come over and join the watch along with us.
Exactly. You can throw as many pelters as you want at John. Dig him out.
As usual.
Disrespect his wardrobes, his curtains, his hairstyle. I've seen it all recently on YouTube. Disrespect his talents, his football knowledge on Villa. You literally, John's gonna be there.
To be
Throw
shot.
everything at him. Oh yeah, hit him hard. And if you get into his taxi, make sure you say hello to him from me by knocking him out. Right, guys, I'm leaving it there. John, it's been a pleasure as always. Keep smiling, up the toffees.
We will see you on Saturday.
We will see you on Saturday. I will be there from 5:20, or maybe even 5:15. There'll be a little intro, then we'll get into the team news, then we'll get into the game, then we'll get into half-time summary where we'll be crying, and then we'll get into the rest of the game where we've beaten Brentford 3-2. Up the topies.
Make the minds up. Cheers, folks.